What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome along with Tyler Stafford. I am in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where the Astros across the last 2 days have really well experienced baseball. They beat Paul Skeens in the first game of this series, and then yesterday were shut out by some guy named Mike Burrows, who I had definitely heard of before I got to the ballpark and looked at the lineup card and saw that he was starting. Let's talk about Paul Skeens just because that's fun. Tyler, he is incredible. Like
Yeah,
that.
he's pretty good.
Like I may have shared the story last time when we were talking about it. Like the last time the Astros faced Paul Skeens, it was at then Minute Maid Park, and the Astros traded for Yusei Kikuchi like an hour before the game. So I did not watch Paul Skeens pitch in that game. I was writing and like trying to nail down the return and reporting and doing like the last thing I was worried about was watching Paul Skeens pitch. So I got to watch him really pitch in person for the first time on Tuesday. That is an experience, man. It is effortless 99. He can run it up to 102 without even trying. I thought the Astros, honestly, I thought they took fine at bats against him. Like they didn't look completely overmatched, but he's on another level. And if I were him, I would demand a trade immediately because what they have surrounded him with is nothing short of abysmal.
It is truly unfortunate that the Pirates are so bad because the ballpark is great. Obviously, I'm getting on the ground reporting from my dad and uncle
Mhm.
about how cool it is. I trust them way more than you. No,
Uh-huh.
but obviously the ballpark is great. The uniforms rock. Everyone looks cool in a Pirates uniform. I mean, everyone on the Astros would look cool in a Pirates uniform. I was joking with somebody on Twitter that think about how much better Lance McCullers would be just wearing that uniform. I can't explain it, but he would look cooler and would be a better pitcher. It stinks that they're bad because the fans are cool too. I mean, that Johnny Cueto highlight from the one time they made the playoffs this century is one of the coolest baseball highlights of the whole crowd chanting Cueto at him and he drops the ball. I feel bad for Pirates fans. Yeah, Paul Skeens is way too good to be surrounded by that. He's gonna get the like Felix Hernandez Cy Young, where he goes like 7-10 this year with a 180 ERA and wins the Cy Young. But he's unbelievable.
I know like pitcher win-loss record is antiquated and no one cares anymore, but like he is 4-6 and has a
Yeah, and they're like 2
205.
and 3 in his last 5 starts, right?
He's 4-6 with a 205 ERA. Like
Yeah,
that's tough to square, man. Like he went out there and put that team on his back on Tuesday, and it was funny. Like Christian Walker homered off of him. First home run Skeens had given up in 38 and 2/3 innings. And to hear Walker talk about it, he was basically like, yeah, I went up there just selling out for 100 because I have to. I guessed wrong, and he just so happened to hang a slider, and like I got my barrel to it. Like literally, like he fell into a home run against Paul Skeens, which is what you have to do when a guy is that good. It should be noted too that the guy that Paul Skeens opposed, Lance McCullers, was just as good. I would not go as far to say he outdueled Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens went 8 innings, Lance only went six, but it suffice to say Lance is stepping up. This has been a really, really encouraging sign for the Astros that since that just horrendous start against the Reds on May 10th, he has a 2.21 ERA in his next 20 innings. Don't want to say it's vintage McCullers yet. I think he's still working through some things and working to get back to his true form. But Tyler, he looks every bit like the pitcher that they need to get through this rough patch where they've only got, really three bona fide starters in the rotation.
it felt so good watching him. I was so happy to see him continue to bounce back, to be able to go deeper into the game. And I mean, yeah, he looked good. It's a different McCullers. Obviously, he's throwing 29% fastballs across his whole arsenal. It's just slider, curveball, changeup. That slider is gross. Like that. Yeah, I see why he throws it 32% of the time. It's nasty. Um, the real McCullers to me is when he gets to face lefties and brings out the knuckle curve.
Mhm.
I like that a lot. Um, but yeah, I mean, he was in the zone. The velocity looked pretty good. It's never going to get back up to 95 where it was before, but with the movement that he has, looking good. So very, very encouraging start for sure.
Yeah, and I mean Lance even if you watched his post game interview after the Pirates start, he even acknowledged like, yeah, I'm not going to rear back through 96, 97 anymore. That's probably never going to come back. So it is a lot about commanding his spin in the zone. And one thing he did very well on Tuesday was he commanded the curveball in zone. If he can land that curveball early in counts for strikes, get guys 0-1, 0-2, 1-2, then he's got them on their heels and he can go slider. His changeup's been excellent too. He can go curve. He's not afraid to throw that slider to righties and lefties too, because usually pitchers will reserve sliders for right-handed hitters, curveballs for left-handed hitters. But those lefties in the Pirates lineup saw the slider. He's not afraid to do that. He'll throw a four-seamer every now and then, but make no mistake, like Lance is going to be a guy that it's going to be a lot of spin. It's going to be a lot of secondary pitches, and he's going to have to get teams to expand the strike zone. Now, the easiest way to do that is to get them behind in the count. And when he's doing he did a great job of that against the Pirates on Tuesday. And the Astros are going to benefit for it because I think, as we saw on Wednesday with Ryan Gusto, look, you want to give the guy a pass a little bit because in all reality, he should not be in this position. Like, he is being thrust into this position by some just injuries, freak injuries, some unforeseen injuries, and just the fact that they really have no depth behind him. And you could say the same thing for Colton Gordon, who's been a little bit better than Gusto, but doesn't have the sample size. Ryan Gusto's made 9 major league starts, and he's failed to finish 5 innings in 6 of them. I believe it's 5 consecutive starts now. He has not finished 5 innings. The swing and miss is not there. The secondary pitches are really not there. But Tyler, they don't really have a choice at this point. Like they're going to have to find a way to make this work until Spencer Arrighetti comes back, or until the trade deadline at the end of July, when I think we can now pretty safely say that their most urgent need is a starting pitcher.
Do they have to wait to the deadline? I mean, I say that as someone with ADHD who has lived a life exclusively waiting to the deadline. My mantra in college was, if you wait until the last minute, it only takes a minute. So I understand waiting until the deadline, but I sure would like them to get just like an adult man who can be a starting pitcher. That'd be nice. That you don't have to give up too much. You can be anybody at this point, because those are rough. Watching those other 2 rotation slots be filled, and like you said, they're doing their best. Like they're in a position that you would never choose to put them in. They're filling in. They're doing an admirable job of just taking the ball and trying their best. But they neither one of those guys are guys that you're looking forward to seeing pitch for sure.
Yeah, at full strength, Ryan Gusto is starting in AAA Sugarland's rotation right now, or is a swing man in the Major League bullpen. Same thing for Colton Gordon, but this is where they are. You asked if they can wait until the deadline. I'm not breaking any news here, but I mean they have been having some conversations about some guys that are out there. It's no one that's going to excite anyone. It's no one that's going
doesn't have to be
right. But that you do kind of wonder at this point, like, what is the cost reward, kind of where are the scales here? Because if you look at it and you think, all right, Ryan Gusto can probably give us just what this veteran guy could give us, and Colton Gordon the same thing. Like, do you wonder, like, is it worth spending the money? Is it worth, devoting resources into that when you have an owner and a pretty apparent need to stay under the luxury tax this year? So I think that's factoring in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, they've discussed some guys that have been out there. I'm not going to name names just because it never materialized into anything, but they're kicking some names around. They're thinking about things they can do. But I think for this moment, I think they're going to stick with what they have because the lack of options out there. I think if something like falls into their lap, if there's a DFA that no one's thinking about, or like if there's a guy on a minor league deal that can opt out, like maybe they kick the tires on those. But there's no one out there that's going to inspire a ton more confidence than what you have in these back two rotation guys.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you jump the gun and you take a flyer on Sandy Alcantara and just maybe overpay a little bit and hope that you can get more out of him than he's doing. I mean, he has like an 8 ERA for a Marlins team who just got swept by the Colorado Rockies. So I'm going to assume they're selling. But yeah, I mean, I might push back on they can give you the same value of what you're going to get out of Gusto and Gordon. Like you said, Gordon's been a little more consistent, and Gusto's been valuable as a bullpen arm. Like if you look at his splits between starting and relieving, he's been a pretty good reliever. But yeah, I mean, they can't go too much longer.
Which is why I think, and I asked Joe Espada after the game last night, maybe this was not the right time to ask it, but I think they may, in a couple weeks, or I'm looking to maybe trying to use an opener in front of Ryan Gusto. Maybe that would help, kick the third time through the order penalty down the road a little bit to where he's not seeing a lineup a third time in the fourth inning. He's maybe seeing a lineup the third time in the seventh inning, and then you can go to your leverage arms. Maybe if you throw an opener for the first 5 or 6 outs, that gives the offense a little bit of a time to maybe get him a lead so he can pitch with a lead, pitch a little bit. You pitch different with a lead as opposed to like a scoreless game or a tie game. So maybe they think about that. Maybe that's something that they try first before they go to the waiver wire well. But it's clear that they've got to address this. And it is eerily similar, Tyler, to last year. We were having this exact same conversation with, you really felt good about the top of the rotation last year, just like you do this year with Valdez and Brown. But you didn't know how you were going to get you're not making this trade for the playoffs. Like you're making this trade to get to the playoffs. Like, in a ideal playoff situation, Hunter Brown, Framber Valdez are pitching the first 2 games. And then if you play a third game in a wild card series, you figure it out. And then you're able to move some of these starters into the bullpen, and the bullpen kind of takes care of itself, but you got to get there first. And you're making this trade to get to the playoffs. And that's why, I don't think anyone thought they were going to get Kikuchi, but that's why when we were talking about this last year, temper expectations for who they go get, because they really just need a guy that can go out there and give them 6 innings every 5th day. And Kikuchi, I know the ERA was bad, but he had the track record of doing that in Toronto. And obviously he came over here and they turned him around. But yeah, I mean, these 2 days in Pittsburgh have just accentuated their biggest need.
Yeah. And like you said, it's to get to the playoffs, which is not a given because the Astros are not the wagon that they've been. I mean, even best case scenario, I think they're going to, be able to win a division by a handful of games, maybe. They're not significantly better than, the rest of the division, and every game is going to matter. And so if you can over the next 6 weeks, get 8 more starts out of a competent starter, like that does add up. Those games add up for sure.
Yeah, and the Astros, I don't have the number in front of me, but I believe they're 0-6 in Ryan Gusto's last 6 starts. And look, that's not all on Ryan Gusto. I mean, they scored no runs last night. Ryan Gusto can't swing the bat. That's not all on the pitcher. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you that they've got to get more production out of the back end of the rotation. And they will, and I think they will address it at the trade deadline. Let's hear from our friends at Foul Territory before we talk about the Astros outfield, how it could look and how it will continue to look going forward. But we'll talk about that right after a message from our friends at Foul Territory.
FT fan by now, if you're buying, selling, trading, collecting cards, Arena Club is the spot. We've been talking about them all season long, but I do want to focus on the slab pack experience, Kratz, since you've been ripping some slab packs digitally. And what happens?
I mean, as a kid, you wanted to rip open the packs. How can they do this digitally? Oh, baby. This is exciting, how the graphics come out and everything. And, oh, yeah, the card that you pull, you can actually get that, John, physically. So it's perfect. It's all in one place, and it's a super exciting experience.
Yeah, they send that to you from the vault if you want it. But if you look at it and you're like, it's not the card for me, I want to sell it back, go for it. You can do any of that on Arena Club, and you can acquire the best value for your money with those slab packs, transparent checklists, and Arena Club's Slab Safe program. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL. arenaclub.com/foul. Use code FOUL.
So, Tyler, first 2 days in Pittsburgh, there was a different little outfield configuration. Jacob Melton was in left field. Jake Myers was in center. Cam Smith was in right. First, can we marvel at the athleticism? Because that is probably, if not the most athletic outfield in baseball, up there in the top 3 or 4. Those are 3 guys that can run, that can go get it, and that are very, very heralded for their defense. So that in and of itself is one thing to marvel at. A chaser to that shot. That's probably not going to be the norm going forward. We'll get into why in a little bit, but first, you've seen Jacob Melton now for 3 games. It's 9 major league plate appearances. I don't want to dissect his poor offensive start after 9 plate appearances, but what have you thought just of your first look at Jacob Melton, who entered this year as the second best prospect in the organization behind Cam Smith?
I mean, similar to Cam Smith, there was one at bat that you look at and you go, oh, that guy knows what he's doing at the plate. And it was the 8-pitch walk that he drew against Paul Skeens, where fouled off a couple of tough pitches, took some nasty pitches out of the zone, drew a walk. And to me, that's all I need to see to go like, all right, he has the floor of being at least competent at, he's not, sometimes people's numbers are elevated by they've just slapped a couple of singles, and so they can kind of skate on that for a little bit. And Melton is certainly going to do that. He's super fast. But that was impressive. Like to draw that walk, like, there are veterans on the Astros team who I don't think would ever be able to do it. I don't think Mauricio Dubon has ever seen an 8th pitch of an at-bat. So like that was impressive to watch him do that. So yeah, I mean, again, he's in the same camp as Jake Myers, where it's like, dude, if you can hit 250 and steal some bags and play outfield defense, that's all anybody's asking you to do. He's certainly not going to hit for a ton of power. He reminds me a little of like Kenny Lofton, where he just kind of slaps at everything, is super fast. I don't know if you saw, but that on his first hit, his sprint speed was a 10th of a second higher than Bobby Witt Jr.'s average sprint speed. Obviously, that's his average. Bobby Witt Jr. is insane, but I mean, he was scooting on that one.
I did have a coach on the Astros tell me like this week in Pittsburgh, like yeah, like he was trying to get his first hit and everything, but like they're like that's normal for him. Like that was not adrenaline. That was not just trying to show off to the big league guys. Like we have seen this throughout his minor league career. Like that is normal for him. That's how he plays the game. That's kind of his normal athleticism. So that's something to be intrigued about if you're the Astros. However, there's a little bit of complicating factors with Jacob Melton being up here. As Dana Brown acknowledged on Sunday and Joe Espada again yesterday, Melton, he's not hurt, obviously. He's playing. He's on the major league team. But he's been dealing with, he had a back injury in spring training that flared up again when he made a diving catch in Grapefruit League play. So they've been having to monitor that in AAA, along with he had a groin injury pop up in April that cost him a couple weeks. So before they called him up, they were already like, they had him on a plan, and I think it was only playing like 4 days a week. So he wasn't even an everyday player in AAA when they called him up. They called him up out of just sheer necessity because Zach DeCenzo and Chas McCormick got hurt. So they're going to adhere to that plan up here because they don't want him to aggravate those injuries anymore. So he's not going to play every day, and they're going to have to find different ways to get him off his feet to make sure to be mindful of that. And also, as Joe Espada said yesterday, Jose Altuve is still this team's left fielder. That has not changed. I know he started the first 2 games of this series at second base. I know he has started 6 times at second base in the Astros' last 15 games, which sort of, prompts understandable wonder whether they're abandoning the plan of him in left field. I'm here to tell you that they are not. It's something that is working. Like, all in all, the left field experience with Altuve is working. The Astros interplay on Thursday with the best defensive infield in the American League. The only infield that has been better, according to Baseball Savant's outs above average metric, is the St. Louis Cardinals. They're the only team in baseball with a better infield than the Astros. This is the same Astros team that had an infield last year that was worth -20 outs above average, which was the 5th worst in baseball, and a team that lost a Gold Glove third baseman in free agency this winter. So look, they added Christian Walker. That helps a ton. Isaac Paredes has exceeded expectations at third base, but something you can't overlook is that Jose Altuve has not been at second base. He started there 14 times all season. That has helped to strengthen the infield defense. In the outfield, the metrics are not good. The defensive metrics for Jose Altuve are not good. You can look at a very wide number of them, and he is either the worst or the 3rd or 4th worst left fielder in baseball. That is a fact, plain stop, period. If you look a little deeper, he's gotten 51 chances in left field total all season. That is the fewest chances of any left fielder with at least 30 starts this year. What does that mean? That means he's not getting the ball hit to him, which means that is exactly what they envisioned. Get him out of the place, second base and the infield, where most of the defensive action happens. Put him in a spot in left field where they knew that is a position historically that gets the fewest chances in general. Why do you think Yordan Alvarez played out there? Why do you think Michael Brantley played out there? Why do you think Carlos Lee played out there way back in the day? This has been something that has spanned generations. Like, it is just a fact that left fielders in general do not get a ton of run. Has he had a couple of plays where you're like, yeah, he has. But Tyler, defensive metrics are hard to quantify. Defensive metrics are hard to understand. I fully acknowledge that. I'm paid to know about them, and I barely know about them. Watching him play left field, it has not felt like he has been that bad as the defensive metrics would have you believe.
Yeah, if he can get to a ball, he's going to make the play. The way that defensive metrics, will show you things that your eyes don't necessarily see off the bat is there are some balls that Altuve almost gets to, and you're like, oh, good play, where it's like an average fielder would have just been standing under the ball to catch it. But again, no one's asking him to do too much out there. It's when a grounder gets hit to you out there, toss it back in, throw it to the right guy, catch the pop-ups that are out there, make an accurate throw when you need to. But he's doing what he's supposed to be doing out there. And yeah, your stat I read in your article was great, that he's not getting any opportunities, which speaks to one, the construction of the Astros pitching staff, that there's not a lot of fly balls hit, and also that they are correctly picking their spots of when to put him out in left field when the fewest chances are going to be there. And yeah, I mean, it's working in the sense that he's not embarrassing himself. He's not embarrassing the team. And that's all you could ask for from a 35-year-old man learning a new position a week before the season starts. That's all you can ask for. And it's been on the opposite side of the outfield. He's being lifted up by Cam Smith, who I still can't believe is that good at right field. It's silly. He shouldn't be that good. I loved on Sunday Melton's first game that Cam Smith had the most outfield experience among Melton and Altuve. He was the veteran outfielder out there. I love that. But he's making up for that ground out there, and so the experiment's working for now, especially as the bat has been heating up in the recent couple of weeks.
Yeah, and you talk about picking the right spots. I mean, PNC Park, I'm sure if you ask your dad, you can look like left field at PNC Park is huge. Like, they circled this ballpark and we are not putting him out there. He may play there tonight behind Framber Valdez. That would make a lot of sense. Framber's not going to get a ton of fly balls, especially against this god-awful lineup that probably won't hit him at all. It would make sense to play him out there tonight behind Framber, but definitely did not make sense to play him behind Gusto did not make sense to play him behind McCullers. What will be very interesting is come September, if they roll into one of these ballparks that they've circled and they're like, we don't want Altuve out there, they're going to have to make some difficult decisions because, like, do you weaken your infield defense behind if it's a big game and Fromber or Hunter Brown's pitching, do you weaken your infield defense for that night by putting Jose Altuve at second, like shore up your outfield defense? Because by then Jordan may be back. Who knows? Could be. He'll probably be the DH. So they will have some difficult decisions to confront in September in some of these ballparks where it's not a slam dunk to put him out there, but basically they'll cross that bridge when they get to it. And I think they're hopeful that by then, like, we won't be having this conversation about his defense. Like, it still won't be average. It still won't be, Gold Glove, worthy, but he will have had a full season out there to, like, have grasped everything. And naturally he will have gotten better by that point. So I think that's when they're going to run into some issues, but right now, I think it is working just as they envisioned it would. One thing, as I was writing that story last night, Tyler, I wanted to include, because one of the rationales in spring training was that, this Astros pitching staff's gonna get so many ground balls because they have Fromber, they have Hunter Brown, two guys that are generally ground ball specialists. Have you looked at their breakdown fly ball to ground ball ratio for their pitching staff?
I mean, I would imagine outside of those two, it's the complete opposite.
That's
what it feels like watching.
They have the 5th lowest ground ball rate in baseball. Their pitching staff does, which that is surprising to me, because even when McCullers, because you were factoring in when McCullers comes back, like, in general, he has been a ground ball pitcher in his career. His predominant fastball is a sinker. Now we talked in the first segment about he's pitching so differently now that may not be a thing, but they have got the 5th lowest ground ball rate in baseball, and they have the 8th highest fly ball rate. So it maybe hasn't worked out from that situation that they thought this pitching staff is getting a ton of ground balls, but it has worked out in the fact that the fly balls that are being hit to Jake Myers and Cam Smith, who are very good in the outfield. They're not being hit to Jose Altuve.
Yeah, I mean, Lance, he's had a 44% ground ball percentage, certainly not as high as it used to be. Do you know how many sinkers he's thrown to lefties this year?
I'm going to guess like 5.
2.
Okay.
Yeah. But fun fact on his, this is silly. On his curve this year, he has a 58% whiff percentage, which is silly. I mean, I get why he doesn't throw it every time. I would, if I had that pitch, I would just throw it every time and dare somebody to hit it. But ironically, his stuff works best when he throws the sinker that's hittable, because you get those swings and you just hope it's soft contact when they do hit the sinker, so that it sets up, well, you got to swing at anything that starts at the knees, because normally I'm throwing a sinker there and you're just whiffing a ton on those curveballs and sliders. So yeah, I mean, the fact that they've been able to hide Altuve that much with the 5th lowest ground ball rate speaks to the scouting and analytics staff that is correctly predicting how often balls are being hit out there, and some luck too, obviously. But it's working so far. We'll see. I did want to point out that when Zach DeZenzo, went on the IL, at first it was just his hand hurts, and then we yelled on the internet all day, and our clips from here went out, and they printed out WebMD for you like 2 days later for him. They gave him a full diagnosis, and I liked too that they said, and we have scheduled him for re-imaging in 2 weeks. Like somebody saw something. I'm not going to take credit from here specifically, but they definitely changed something this week on how to communicate injuries.
As I told someone on social media that said the same thing to me, when you hit rock bottom, there really is nowhere to go but up.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened last weekend has to qualify as rock bottom. Like they could not continue the way that they were going on with the communication, the lack of transparency, things like that. Because as we discussed, they had lost all benefit of the doubt. No one believed them. It was funny, even when they detailed that Zach DeZenzo update. I don't think anyone every response I got was still no way. Like, we'll see him in June of 2028. Like,
Yeah.
he has 8 different broken bones that we'll find out about in 2027. Like, yeah, they've got a lot of work to do. Like, but again, if we're going to sit here and yell about them and be mad, you've got to give them credit if this is the beginning of a different way of doing things. And I'll sit here and say, like, that was welcome. And that was all we needed. We have not asked once about Zach DeZenzo since that statement came out. Like,
I'm not going to think about him for 2 more weeks.
No.
Let me know how the imaging goes.
Right.
Update me then. That's all it takes. That's all we're asking for. Just little bit there. But I did crack up at specifically saying, and we have scheduled him for re-imaging. Don't worry. We learned our lesson. We will look at the hand again before starting the comeback process.
For those that want a Yordan Alvarez update, I don't really have one other than that he is not on the road trip, which doesn't mean a whole lot, but that he's not on the road trip means he's back in Houston doing whatever. I have not, we have not asked a question about Yordan Alvarez since we've been here, because it just seems like right now that's one you just leave alone. Like, let it fester, let it kind of settle for a couple days. We may have to ask today, just has he picked up a bat? What's he doing? So maybe we'll have something more today, but he is not on the road trip, which means I don't think anyone thought he was being activated on this road trip, but he certainly will not be, because he is not with the team. Other than that, don't really have much of an update and don't really expect to have much within the next couple of days. So
can you ask if he's at 65% healed now instead of 60%, since they had it nailed down so specifically?
I'll see if it's like 68.6% or 68.
Where are we at?
How is the? I'm going to ask Dana how the calcification is. The calcification up to 75% now. I don't know, but that would require them to take another image of his hand to see that. So hope they can get that figured out. Let's hear one more time from our friends at Foul Territory, and then we'll talk about an interesting bullpen decision and what that could mean going forward right after a message from our friends at Foul Territory.
Scott, you need to check out this Roback hoodie I have. It's 85 plus degrees here in Florida. Look, lightweight, feels great, cool colors, perfect for those hot Florida days.
I agree, AJ. Color looks fire. And you can get your own sweatshirt, polo, hoodie. Go check out Roback. And if you do and you're a first-time customer, Roback.com using the code FOUL gets you 20% off your first purchase. RHOBACK.com, code FOUL. Get after it, FT fam.
So were you surprised? I mean, it's we in these days against a team like the Pirates that is awful. Like, you don't learn a ton about teams in these sort of series, just because the Astros are going to run out there every night and be the far more superior team. I know they got shut out last night, but ignore that. You don't learn a ton, but it was interesting to see Sean Dubin come in to protect a 1-0 lead in the 7th inning of Tuesday's game. That had been a spot that was reserved for Brian King. Brian King was available because he started to warm up during the inning that Sean Dubin pitched. Sean Dubin threw a scoreless inning, handed it off to Brian Abreu, Josh Hader. Game over. Joe Espada afterward, I asked just kind of what did he like about the matchup. Obviously, the Pirates had a run of righties at the bottom of their order, and Sean Dubin's a right-handed pitcher. Brian King when he is good, he's honestly been better against right-handed hitters than left-handed hitters, so he's kind of platoon neutral. So that argument doesn't carry a ton of weight because King can get both sides of the plate out. As good as this bullpen has been, Tyler, like, they were never going to stay as good as they were the whole season. And you saw that in the Rays series. They're going to have some blowups. Every bullpen in baseball does. Like, no bullpen's going to have like a sub 2.5 ERA all year. But I think it speaks to the fact that this bullpen has a lot of interchangeable parts behind Brian Abreu and Josh Hader. Like, Abreu and Hader are going to pitch the 8th and the 9th when they're available. Other than that, like, I don't think there is a set, like, I don't think they have they have a fireman who comes into fireman, but they don't have like a fireman to put out a big situation in the 6th. They don't like that used to be like Chris Davinsky back in the day. It used to be Will Harris back in the day.
Preach. Come on.
Like the guy that they would bring in with 2 on and 1 out in the 6th inning, and they would somehow get out of it.
Mhm.
They don't have that guy. That guy has not really established himself, but maybe they don't need it, because while it may not be like specific roles set, like they've got a lot of interchangeable parts back there that Joe Espada and Josh Miller can mix and match to react to platoon advantages, react to what certain hitters do well. I think that was an indication that like the only set roles in this bullpen belong to Brian Abreu and Josh Hader.
Yeah. So that game, I mean, I talked about it on Twitter. 5:40 is fake baseball time. Baseball doesn't start till 7. I'm very upset with these games starting so early, but it did allow me. The game was done. I hadn't even put my kids to bed yet, and by the time they were done, I came out and I watched, the rest of the post game show, and then I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know they did this, but they follow you goobers around in the locker room, and you can just hear yourself. I heard you mumbling off camera asking Joe about Dubin, and the answer that he gave I really liked. He said, well, I had him up in the inning before, and if I was going to bring him in a leverage situation, then why would I not bring him in a clean inning? And to me, what that's doing is, one, highlighting their interchangeable parts, but two, like that's good managing to give a confidence boost to say after, like, I trusted him the inning before with runners on. Why would I not trust him because the inning is 1 inning later? Like, he was ready to go. I was happy with him to come in then, so I'll bring him in now. And I think that's a real confidence boost to tell your pitchers, like, yeah, I trust you to get outs whatever inning it's in. I mean, that is the funny thing about bullpen hierarchy, is like the outs count the same no matter what inning it is. Like, you still have to get 27 of them. So there's no difference actually in the 6th and 7th inning, other than like a pecking order where you pump yourself up. And so I liked it. I mean, yeah, bring him in. He's been great this year. So was Brian King. So I didn't think he said anything that was like, I prefer Dubin over, it wasn't like a reordering of things. It was just saying, we got a bunch of good arms down there. He was ready to go. So I put him out there and it worked.
Yeah. Like we often talk about like who's in the inner circle, who's in the bullpen leverage, circle of trust. And I think there's like, you could legitimately make a claim that there's like 5 guys in it. And it's, I think Dubin, we saw on Tuesday, Dubin's now a member. I think you could say Steven Okert's probably in there. You don't see Steven Okert come in a bunch of like advantage games, but you see him come in a lot of games where they're either tied or down 1, which is like, to me, counts as leverage. Cause like if you're down 1 run, like all it takes is 1 swing and it's a tie game. And like the game is still very much in the balance. You could count Steven Okert in there. Brian King's there, and then Abreu and Hader, obviously. So, I mean, I think those are the 5 guys that like have really distinguished themselves as trustworthy. Like, I can bring them in, and that's not even to talk about Bennett Sousa, who is, I mean, quietly been very, very good. I mean, he's throwing some lower leverage spots, but I think again they have constructed a bullpen that, as Josh Hader so eloquently put a couple of weeks ago, like it's not very traditional. Like they've got 4 lefties down there. Hader's one of them, but like they've got 4 lefties, all of whom are really good at getting righties out too. So like they can do a lot of different things with how they mix and match. They throw a ton of fastballs, but it's not high velocity fastballs. They get only, I think the Blue Jays give up less contact in their bullpen than the Astros. So like, it sounds pretty simple, but like they throw a bunch of fastballs, they miss bats, and they get whiffs. Like, I mean, that's what you're looking for in a bullpen. They may not do it the traditional way, but I think that's an advantage for them. Because in so many instances, you see like teams like they're always trying to stay away from certain guys in leverage spots, and like I don't think there's maybe 1 or 2 guys down there that you kind of recoil a little bit if it's a leverage game and they have to come in, but by and large, like I think Joe and Josh Miller are pretty comfortable with bringing anybody in this bullpen in a leverage situation.
Yeah. So like you said, bullpens have those inner circle guys. The Astros have two very clear ones. Bullpens also have white flag guys. And, you know, there are some bullpens where it's like, this guy jogs in, you know, that team is basically saying, if a miracle happens, great. But if not, we're just trying to get through this. The Astros only have one right now, and it's Forrest Whitley, unfortunately. But there's nobody else in that bullpen that, even if they come in the fourth inning, you're like, oh, they're punting on this game. Like everybody who's coming out, you're like, all right, this guy's going to get outs. We'll see what happens. And honestly, I think over the course of a season, it's probably even more important to have fewer white flag guys than it is to have more leverage guys. Because like you said, a lot of times it almost becomes a crutch when you've got super high leverage guys because you're almost nervous to bring them in because you're always thinking about the next game. Having guys, you know, like the Astros have in the bullpen where it's like, all right, we'll throw this guy today, but that's okay because we have four more of them that you can throw to, you know, you're not
Right.
burning your guys. You've got enough guys that are just above average that can come in and get outs, and you're not worried about it. And it's the reason the Astros have more come from behind wins than anybody else because they don't get out of games often. I say that knowing that they just lost 2 football scorers to the Rays last week, but you know, even when they're down 3-1 or whatever in the 5th inning, they're still bringing in guys that are going to keep the score there and allow the Astros to come back. And they've done it over and over and over again this year. And the reason they've been able to do that is the guys who are coming in the 5th, 6th, and 7th inning are interchangeably good.
I mean, you saw it on Wednesday night. Like Ryan Gusto leaves with a 3-0. He left with a 3-0 deficit, and like it stayed.
That was it. Yep.
Like, I mean, if the Astros could have found a way to hit whoever Mike Burrows is, like they kept that game. Like all they needed was a bloop, a walk, and a blast, and the game's tied. Like, and that's a testament to the bullpen. And I mean, look, Forrest Whitley's not been good, but like, let's also like understand that like he is the white flag guy. Like you're not wrong, but like he may have like low key the best overall stuff in the bullpen.
It makes no sense that he's bad. It makes me so mad because he comes out pumping 98 with just like Looney Tunes, breaking ball stuff. And then you look up and he's giving up 5 runs in an inning and 2/3. You're like, how are they doing that? But you know, hopefully he figures that out too. But yeah, I mean, they've been good.
Yeah. I mean, like, and when your white flag guy was like the best pitching prospect in baseball at one point, and like literally has like, I think Joe Espada said it once, like on the last homestand when someone had to ask like where Forrest Whitley's kind of standing was. And like I think he stopped himself from saying the best stuff in the bullpen, but he was started to say that and he's not wrong. Like, I mean, Josh Hader obviously is in a league of his own, but like Forrest Whitley may legit have like on par with Brian Abreu level quality of stuff. Now you can have as much good quality of stuff as you want. If it gets hit, it gets hit. Like you got to command it. You got to know how to sequence it and use it. But like that just kind of, I think to me underscores kind of the absurdity and just what they have down there, because they really do have a nice mix of a lot of different things that they can bring in a lot of different situations. That'll help them out. I don't think they're going to need the bullpen tonight. I said it the last time and I was almost right. I would not be surprised if Framber Valdez no hits this team. Like the Pirates are awful. And this lineup is the only lineup that is scoring less runs per game than the Pirates is the Rockies. And the Rockies may be the worst team in organized baseball history. Like we could have a sub 2-hour game and Framber Valdez could flirt with history because this, and when you look at it too, a lot of their better hitters are left-handed. Like Brian Reynolds is left-handed. Like it could get Spencer Horowitz or cleanup hitters left-handed. Like it could get interesting tonight. That like I would tune in. It could get interesting tonight.
The ghost of Andrew McCutchen is batting second for them. So, and he's like one of the better hitters on the team, which is sad. And speaking of Forrest Whitley, O'Neal Cruz wins the Forrest Whitley Memorial Raw Stuff Award. I mean, every time I see O'Neal Cruz, I'm like, this is the best baseball player I've ever seen. And then you look at his stats and he's hitting 220 and he's bad outfielder. And you're like, how is that possible? He has literally the hardest hit ball in the StatCast era, right? Or the hardest home run. He had that like a week ago. He's so fast. He's like 8 feet tall. I don't understand why he's not amazing. I don't know how much fantasy football you play, but I was telling somebody the other day, he feels like Kyle Pitts to me, where it's like every year you're like, look at him, look at him running out there. How can he not be good? And he just isn't for some reason. But yes, that team is bad. Fromber is good. We shall see. Now, when Fromber gives up 6 runs in 4 innings, everyone blame Chandler. It is exclusively his fault. It is not Fromber's fault. We're recording this 5 hours before the game. It is Chandler's fault if he blows up.
And knowing the way this has gone, it'll happen like that. Like they'll get like 4 cheap infield hits in the first 2 innings. Fromber will just implode and like it'll be a disaster. So
well, what's funny is last game you said the same thing, like might be a no-hitter, and the second pitch of the game was a home run, and I was already just like, you idiot. And then he didn't give up anything for the rest of the game. I was like, I guess you were pretty close.
Yeah, he threw the best game of his life after like the second pitch got hit 115 off the bat. I don't think he's in danger of that tonight, but who knows? It's baseball. The Astros lost to Mike Burrows last night. Anything can happen. And when it does happen, you will hear about it on Crush City Territory. We'll come back later this week with a couple more episodes recapping the Guardian series, talking about the farm system a little bit. And we'll, as always, if you want to follow me on X, you can at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C. Stafford. As always, please rate and review us on Apple. Please subscribe on YouTube, where the comments got spicy on the last episode. There's a lot of people that are very frustrated with a lot of different things. They hate me. They hate the medical staff. Tyler, I believe one of them said like they're tired of the podcast because all you do is just agree with everything I say. So we need to fight.
No, I don't.
We need to fight in the next one just to get people more engaged and more enthused. So we have that coming up in a future episode. So we hope that you'll tune in, listen to that. And as always, thanks for listening, and see you guys soon. Thanks.
Bye.